Rebecca was a highly successful woman. She had worked hard for everything she had and was respected in her field. Her life was stable, comfortable, and filled with accomplishments. Despite her success, she was kind, humble, and always willing to help those around her. She was dating Daniel, a man she loved deeply. Daniel had struggled for years to find his footing. He was smart, determined, and had potential, but luck hadn't been on his side. Jobs were hard to come by, and each time he thought things would get better, something always went wrong. Rebecca stood by him through it all. She believed in him, she encouraged him, supported him, and was always there to listen and lift him when he was down. Through one of her contacts, Rebecca had found a job for Daniel. She secured him a position at a reputable architectural firm. Things were going smoothly at first. Daniel seemed happy, motivated, and grateful. Rebecca was glad to see him thriving, and she felt relieved that, finally, life was becoming stable for him. But after a few months, things took a turn. Daniel lost the job. He told Rebecca that the company was downsizing and had to let go of some staff. Rebecca didn't ask too many questions. She didn't want to make him feel worse. Instead, she supported him in every way possible. She paid for the rent without hesitation, stocked the house with food, gave him some money for personal needs, and ensured he lacked nothing. She made sure he didn't feel the weight of the financial burden, hoping he would find another opportunity soon. But Daniel wasn't happy. Despite Rebecca's unwavering support, he kept telling her he didn't like the situation. He felt uncomfortable, embarrassed, restless. "I'm not fine with this," he told her one evening, his voice low and tense. "I'm the man here, Rebecca. I'm supposed to be in charge. I don't want a woman taking care of me like I'm a child. I'm supposed to support you, not the other way around." Rebecca moved closer and held his hand. "Daniel, I know, and I respect you. But this is temporary. You'll be back on your feet. Let me be here for you, please." But Daniel kept repeating it. "I can't take this. I feel like less of a man. I need to do something, anything. I want to be independent. I want to be the one providing for you, not the other way around." Rebecca understood his frustration, but she believed in seasons. Sometimes one partner lifts the other. She didn't see it as a weakness or a problem. To her, love meant supporting each other through thick and thin. But to Daniel, it was a constant blow to his pride. It was during that period of frustration that Daniel came up with the idea to start his own business. Rebecca, still standing firmly by his side, gave him the funds and encouragement he needed to begin. The business grew quickly. Daniel was indeed very smart, and with Rebecca's help, he was able to build something strong. Clients came, money flowed, and he was finally the man he had always wanted to be. Successful, respected, and independent. But as things improved for Daniel, his attitude toward Rebecca changed. He became distant. He didn't call as often, didn't spend time with her like before, and when she asked if everything was okay, he blamed work stress. Rebecca didn't argue. She loved him too much to suspect anything was wrong. She believed he was just overwhelmed and tired. She made excuses for his behavior, telling herself that all the changes were temporary. Still, his coldness grew. He stopped showing affection. He no longer seemed interested in their plans. And even when she did her best to understand, to support him even more, nothing improved. Rebecca's friends noticed and tried to talk to her, but she always defended him. She believed he just needed time. She didn't want to accuse or fight. She loved him deeply and had invested too much to give up. One day, her close friend Bola came to her with some troubling news. "Rebecca," Bola said carefully, stirring her drink. "I'm not trying to cause any problems, but I need to tell you something. I saw Daniel the other day, at the Ivy Lounge." Rebecca looked up, curious but calm. "Okay?" "He wasn't alone. He was with a woman," Bola said. "They were seated at a corner table, and, I don't know, the way they were talking, it felt a bit cultural." "Cultural?" Rebecca raised an eyebrow. Bola sighed, choosing her words. "I mean, it didn't look strictly professional, But I don't want to jump to conclusions. I'm just saying what I saw. Rebecca paused for a moment, her heart thumping, but she nodded. All right, thanks, Bola. I'll talk to him. That evening, Rebecca confronted Daniel gently. She didn't want to accuse, only to understand. She told him what Bola had seen and asked him directly if everything was all right. Daniel sighed heavily, rubbing his temples like a man burdened by the weight of the world. Rebecca, honestly, this is all work-related. I wish you'd told me earlier instead of stressing over this. She stayed silent, listening. The woman I was with. I work with her, Daniel explained. And her father is involved with the Johnson Group. You remember the Johnson Group, right? I've been trying to get a contract with them for months. Rebecca nodded slowly. This contract means everything, he continued. If I sign it, my company goes to another level. Bigger projects, more visibility. But if I don't, it could collapse everything I've worked for. I'm under serious pressure. I've been meeting with her to see if she can help me connect to her father. Maybe put in a word. It's purely business. Rebecca felt a wave of relief, mixed with guilt for doubting him, even briefly. I understand, she said softly. I just needed to hear it from you. Daniel nodded. Look, I'm sorry if I've been distant. It's the stress. I didn't want to bother you with it, but this is serious for me. Rebecca believed him. She knew the pressure of contracts and deadlines. She reminded herself that Daniel had always been honest before, and she wanted to keep trusting him. So, she let it go, believing that everything truly was work-related. Little did she know, the truth was far more complicated. A few days after, Daniel came home looking excited, his energy lighter, his mood visibly lifted. Rebecca looked up from the couch, surprised to see him smiling in a way he hadn't in a long time. Rebecca, he called out eagerly, I have great news. She walked over quickly. What is it? Daniel beamed. The Johnson Group, they're ready to sign. We had a final meeting today, and they agreed on everything. The contract is basically in the pocket. We're meeting again in 2 days for the official signing. Rebecca's eyes lit up. Wow, that's incredible. Daniel nodded. Honestly, it's just a formality now. Everything is settled. Terms, conditions, everything. The signing is just a detail. Rebecca threw her arms around him, genuinely happy. Daniel, I'm so proud of you. You've worked so hard. This is going to take your company to another level. He smiled, his chest rising with pride. Yeah, this changes everything. Bigger projects, more visibility, more money. Rebecca laughed joyfully. We need to celebrate. Daniel nodded, but said he needed to return to the office to handle some final arrangements before the signing. Rebecca understood. She felt her heart swelling with pride, thinking of all they had gone through, the tough times, the sacrifices. Now, finally, it seemed like their struggles had been worth it. The next day, still feeling joyful and full of love, Rebecca decided to surprise Daniel at his office. She got dressed nicely, picked up some of his favorite snacks, and bought a small bottle of wine. She wanted to surprise him, celebrate with him even before the official signing. When she arrived at his office, the receptionist wasn't at her desk, and Daniel's door was slightly ajar. Smiling to herself, thinking how happy he'd be, she gently pushed it open, only to freeze at the doorway. Inside, Daniel was kissing his assistant. It wasn't a mistake. They were fully involved, close, intimate. The bottle slipped from Rebecca's hand and shattered on the floor, the sound cutting through the air like thunder. Daniel and the assistant pulled apart in shock, their eyes darting toward the door. Daniel, Rebecca whispered, her voice barely holding steady. What is this? Explain to me. What is going on? Daniel didn't look ashamed. He didn't even try to apologize. Instead, he sighed deeply and stepped forward, his tone cold and distant. I think the time has come for us to go separate ways. Rebecca stared at him, horrified. What are you talking about? He shrugged. Look at us. We're not matching. Let's not pretend. Tears welled in her eyes. Daniel, after everything, we've been together for years. I stood by you through everything. He looked at her with disdain. You're not my type. Look at you. You're like a big pig. The words struck her like a blow. She gasped, her voice shaking. What? You've never said anything about my size. Never. Why now? Daniel remained indifferent. I was with you because you were supportive. That's all. Now that I'm independent, I can't continue with you. Rebecca's heart shattered. Daniel, how can you say this? After everything I did for you, supporting you when you had nothing, when you lost your job, when I paid the rent, gave you money, helped you start your business. I was there for you 100%. How can you repay me like this? Daniel said nothing. He turned back to his desk, ignoring the pain in her voice. Rebecca stood there, broken. The man she had loved and supported now showing his true colors. Without another word, she turned and walked away, tears streaming down her face, carrying the weight of betrayal with her. That night, Rebecca was completely devastated. She sat on her bed in her apartment, her eyes swollen from crying. Her hands trembled as she replayed everything in her mind: the kiss, the insults, the coldness in Daniel's eyes. Her phone rang. It was Bola. When Bola arrived, she found Rebecca curled up on the couch, sobbing uncontrollably. Bola rushed to her side, holding her tightly. He called me a big pig, Bola. Rebecca wept. He said I'm not his type. I'm too big. I'm not beautiful. Can you believe it? After everything I did for him, he insulted me like that. Bola was furious, but she held her anger back and focused on comforting her friend. Rebecca, listen to me. Daniel doesn't deserve you. Not now, not ever. Don't let his words break you. You are beautiful, you are kind, you are successful. And you gave him everything, everything. He's blind and ungrateful. Rebecca shook her head, her voice full of pain. I loved him, Bola. I really loved him. I stood by him when he had nothing. I paid rent, gave him pocket money. Even when he said he didn't like it, I still supported him because I believed in him. Bola wiped Rebecca's tears. That's exactly why he doesn't deserve you. A real man would have cherished you. But Daniel? He used you. Don't let him have your joy, Rebecca. He's not worth it. Rebecca cried through the night, her heart breaking in pieces. But with Bola by her side, she found a little strength to face the morning. The next day was the appointment for the contract signing with the Johnson Group. Daniel had spent the morning getting ready, wearing his best suit, excited for the final step. He walked into the meeting room with confidence, expecting the future to be his. When he entered, his eyes immediately caught someone he never expected to see: Rebecca. Standing beside the representatives from the Johnson Group, dressed in a smart, elegant outfit, her face calm, composed. Daniel's chest tightened suddenly. He quickly approached her, confusion and urgency in his voice. Rebecca, what are you doing here? This is my place of work. Please, I don't want any drama today. This signing is very important. Please, if you can just leave. I need to sign this contract. I beg you. One of the senior members from the Johnson Group turned to Daniel, raising an eyebrow. You don't know her? The man asked. Daniel frowned. Know her? Yes, she's my... Well, it's personal. But please, can we proceed with the signing? The man gave a small smile and looked between Daniel and Rebecca. Let me introduce you properly. This is Rebecca Adeyemi Johnson, the CEO of the Johnson Group. She's the one who will sign this contract on our behalf. Her father, Mr. Johnson, is the founder of our company. Daniel's entire world froze. What? What are you talking about? It can't be... Rebecca looked at him calmly, though there was deep pain in her eyes. Yes, Daniel. My full name is Rebecca Adeyemi Johnson. I never told you about the Johnson side of my life because I didn't want you to see me differently. I wanted to know if you'd love me for who I am, not for what I have. She took a breath and continued, her voice steady. I never hid the fact that I had money, but I didn't tell you everything because I wanted our relationship to be real. That's why I showed you some of what I had, so I could support you. But now, I see who you truly are. Daniel's face turned pale. He was shaking, stumbling for words. Rebecca, please, I'm sorry. I didn't know. I didn't mean what I said. I was stressed. I wasn't thinking straight. Rebecca looked at him with a strength he had never seen before. No, Daniel. You were thinking clearly when you insulted me. You were thinking clearly when you betrayed me. And now that you know who I am, you're suddenly sorry? Daniel fell to his knees in front of everyone. Please, Rebecca. I beg you, don't do this. Please, I need this contract. I'm sorry, I'll do anything. Rebecca shook her head slowly. There's no contract. Not today, not ever. You can forget about it. Then she turned to the Johnson Group representatives. We're not signing anything. Let's go. And with that, she walked out, leaving Daniel kneeling, humiliated, and broken. The contract gone, the love gone, everything gone. After Rebecca walked away from Daniel and shut down the deal with the Johnson Group, Daniel tried everything he could think of to change her mind. He called, sent messages, even showed up at places he thought she might be, begging for just 5 minutes of her time. Rebecca, please, let's talk. Just for a moment, please. About the deal, about us. Please, he pleaded. But Rebecca was firm. She looked him in the eye, cold and steady, and said, Daniel, I have nothing to say to you. Not about the deal, not about the relationship. It's over. Go and live your life. I'm done. Daniel was crushed. Without the Johnson Group contract, his company collapsed. Projects were canceled, clients pulled out, and investors lost faith in him. Bills piled up. The office he had once filled with pride now echoed with silence. His assistant, the one he betrayed Rebecca for, disappeared when things got tough. She didn't return his calls. She vanished. Daniel sat alone, surrounded by debts and regrets, haunted by his own choices. Meanwhile, Rebecca struggled with her own pain. Sitting at home one evening with Bola, she broke down again, her voice heavy with emotion. Bola, am I not beautiful? She whispered, staring blankly at the wall. Why does every relationship I have end like this? Why do men come to me just for my money? What's wrong with me? Am I not beautiful? Do I not have a beautiful soul? Am I not a person that deserves love? Bola's eyes welled up, seeing her friend in pain again. She reached out, taking Rebecca's hands in hers. Don't you ever say that again, Bola said firmly. You are beautiful, Rebecca. You are one of the most loving, caring women I have ever known. When you love someone, you give them your heart. You invest your whole self. That's not a weakness, that's strength. You can't change who you are because of people who took advantage of you. That's their loss, not yours. Rebecca wiped her tears. Maybe I'm not made for love, Bola. Maybe I should just focus on my work. I feel so tired of all these loving things. So tired. Bola shook her head. No, don't say that. Someone like you, who has so much love to give, deserves to be loved back. You will find love. I can tell you that. These foolish men who came into your life were not worthy of you. But your man will come. Rebecca gave a faint smile, but looked exhausted. I just don't know anymore. Bola hesitated for a moment, then said, Rebecca, do you remember my cousin, Paul? Rebecca nodded slowly. Yes, I do. You know, he's been in love with you for a long time. Rebecca's eyes widened. Yes, I know. I liked him too, but he's married, and I can't go with someone who's married. That's not me. Bola smiled slightly. Not anymore. He's divorced now. Rebecca blinked. What? What do you mean? His wife. She had a very bad attitude, treated him terribly. It didn't work, so they divorced. It's been quite some time now. Rebecca was surprised. Really? I didn't know. Bola nodded. Yes. And for a while now, Paul has been asking me for your number. He wanted to reach out to you. But I refused because you were still with Daniel. Now that you're single, and he's single too, maybe, just maybe, I can give him your number. No pressure, only if you want. Rebecca sat in silence for a moment. Then she nodded. Why not? At least someone won't come to me because of my money. Paul has money. He doesn't need mine. Let's give it a try. So they got in touch. Paul called her, and they spoke for hours. It felt easy, natural, sincere. They had known each other before, and the connection was already there. But this time, they started slow, not rushing anything, just getting to know each other again. Paul was gentle, respectful, and truly in love with Rebecca. He reminded her what it felt like to be valued, not for her money, but for her heart, her mind, and her spirit. As the weeks passed, Rebecca began to feel something she hadn't felt in a long time: peace. She was finally being loved for who she was, and with Paul, there was no pressure, no pretending. He had his own success and wasn't threatened by hers. Together, they laughed, shared dreams, and built something real. For the first time in a long time, Rebecca was happy. Not because of her achievements, but because she felt loved, truly loved, for who she was. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please like, comment, and share the video. Also, please subscribe to the channel and click the notification bell so that you won't miss our next video. Bye!